Good morning, honorable members. I'm still trying to locate other members to join. I see now it's exactly 9:30 and we're supposed to start. I'm quickly checking up on other members. Thank you.
Okay, I'm on the platform. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, the support team. Are we correcting now?
Recording in progress.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, not yet, Chairperson.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members and staff.
Oh, good morning, Doc.
Morning, Doc.
Good morning, members.
No, I'm not the dog. I'm the DM.
Oh, Mr. Nchungu, good morning. Our apologies, but just receive. It's coming.
It's coming. Eh? Thank you. I receive.
Recording stopped.
Comrade Mahaha, please join. Oh, sorry, I'm looking for Mahaha. I did not yet join.
Hello, Chair. Please note that I'm together with Mrs. Ndalane in the same oversight, so we'll use the same connection. Thank you.
Thank you, noted, Comrade Ndalane. Thank you. Chairperson, I think we are quorum now. Can we start? Thank you.
Hello, honorable members, good morning. Good morning to the DDG and his team. Can we start our meeting? Are we now correcting secretary?
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, we do have a quorum, Chairperson.
Thank you. Can we actually then look at the agenda that we have? Do you want to flight it on the screen? Our agenda actually has just two main items: is the briefing by the department in respect of the Ramotlakane and Zwelabantu CPAs, and thirdly, we have a report from the Mbadlanyana matter. And then the second point would be, the second item would be the consideration of the meeting or minutes of the previous meeting. Can I identify the proposal for the adoption of the agenda?
Chairperson.
Is that
Adams.
Honorable Ndalane?
Adams.
Oh, Honorable Adams. I can't see the hands here.
Okay, thank you. I move for the adoption of the agenda as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any seconder? Can you, honorable members, please just come in, because I can't actually, my gadget does not show whose hand is up.
Okay, Chair, it's Member Maseko. I second the move for adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Honorable Maseko. Can we actually note the apologies, if there are any?
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Chairperson, all the members that tendered their apologies are in the meeting, so I will discard their apology, Chairperson. We have an apology, Chair, from the minister who is off sick, and then we have an apology from the acting DG, Mr. Heyman. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members, and officials of the department, I so wish that we could actually finish this meeting at around 12:30, because at 1:00, I also have another commitment. Our ad hoc committee meeting is meeting at 1:00. So we are going to ensure that we actually keep to the time allocated for each item. Maybe without any further ado, I would actually call upon the department to present to make a presentation in respect of those CPAs that I had mentioned earlier. I understand that the DDG, Mr. Ndobe, is present. He might want to introduce his team first before he actually makes a presentation. Over to you, Mr. Ndobin.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to all the honorable members, Deputy Minister. I thought, Chair, in terms of the protocol, I think the DM supposed to be the one to come first.
No, go ahead, DDG. I think we don't have a lot of time on our side today.
Thank you so much, DM, and thanks so much, Honorable Chair. Indeed, we will be.
Sorry, Mr. Ndova. I'm so sorry. Let me apologize to the Deputy Minister for not recognizing his presence. In fact, I did not see that. You know, I'm struggling here with my gadget. You know, it doesn't show the names of people that are there. I'm so sorry, Honorable Deputy Minister. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you.
Apology accepted.
Thank you. Mr. Ndove.
Thank you so much again, Chair and honorable members, TM. Chair, these matters that we're presenting today, they're not coming here for the first time. We have presented before. There were areas that the committee was not happy about in some of the presentation. There's also areas where we actually declare to the committee that there's still some work that we need to do. So today's presentation are going to cover all those areas and also provide progress in terms of what has happened since then. I also just want to also indicate, Honorable Chair, that this work
Recording in progress.
Is a work that is happening in the provinces, but it is done in conjunction with the national office. And in one of the presentation, the national office will present. The other two will be presented by the officials in the provinces. There was also a commitment by the minister to intervene in the two areas, which is the one in the Dube and as well Dube CPA, as well as the Mbadlanyana. I want to confirm that those interventions actually happened and it has assisted a lot. However, as we present, we'll be able to indicate when it happened and what were the outcomes of those interventions. Without taking much time, I'll start by inviting Mr. Kutaila, who will present on the Ramotlakane issue, CPA. He will be followed by Mr. Mdaweni from KZN on the Dube CPA, and then thereafter the last one will be the one on Mbadlanyana PTO rights. I will not know, Chair, whether you want all the presentation to be taken or they have to go one by one and the committee interact with them. I'll be guided by you, Chair. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ndove. I am not sure. Well, honorable members, what is your view on that? Do we take all the presentations, writing notes, and then actually after all the presentations actually have been made, then we ask questions? I'm not sure, but I feel that it would be effective if we actually receive one presentation at a time and then we interrogate that, we engage on that, and then move on to another one. What do honorable members feel about that?
Chair, I'm sorry because you indicated that you can't see our hands raised.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so when I chip in, it's not that I'm undermining, bear with us. I'm thinking that, Chair, because we've got the deadline of 12 o'clock. So the ideal thing is, and that we received the presentation beforehand. Maybe if the department can just run through all these presentations, not going through page by page, and then after we ask the question, and then we allocate more time in the interaction rather than on the presentation. It will add value in the interaction for today. Yeah, that's my take, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member who would have a different view? Because I think the Honorable Maseko's proposal, makes a lot of sense to me, at least.
No, let's
Is there
proceed, Chair.
any? Yes, I recognize you, Honorable Mkhaga.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, DM. Good morning, everybody. Platform, honorable members. Now, I would support Honorable Maseko Chair's approach, and let's proceed.
Well, thank you, honorable members. We are then going to proceed on the basis of the proposals made by Honorable Maseko. So we are going to take all the presentations, and then after that, then we will engage. And we are going to make a bit of time for engagement, considering that we would have actually received 3 presentations at a go. Okay. Honorable Mr. Ndabe, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the guidance, Honorable Chair, together with the committee. Colleagues, I think the guidance is very clear. Let us try to be as brief as possible, but not leaving out important issues, so that we can afford the committee an opportunity to interact with our presentation. Like I indicated, we'll starting with the one from Northwest, Ramotlakane, and it will be followed by the next one that we'll call as we move on. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No. Thanks. Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, Deputy Ministers, and then acting DDG Ndove and colleagues. My name is Richard Kiotaile. I'll be presenting on behalf of Northwest. The presentation outline will be as indicated, which is the purpose, activity plan, the actions undertaken, and the conclusion. We can move to the next slide, Ntatesbi fellow. On the purpose here is to provide the portfolio committee with an update regarding the outcome of the presentation made by the department previously, that is back in June 2025. And then on that date, we committed ourselves as a department to undertake a particular activity plan. Activities there were to arrange a meeting of the committee and the concerned members. The date was the 30th of August. The stakeholders were the CPA committee, concerned members, and then officials of the department, including the restitution official. And then the second activity was assessment of the issues, complaints raised at the meeting, with the intention to determine if there is a need to appoint independent mediators so that the issues can be resolved in that meeting. That was to happen earlier than that, which was the stakeholders were our department and officials. The deadline that we put for ourselves was the 20th of September. The third activity was to arrange a general meeting, that is by the 30th of September, with the stakeholders, which include the CPA members, the CPA committee, concerned members, and the department. This was the activity plan. And then afterward, obviously, it was going to be the training on governance matters. That is the new executive committee after everything has been done. We can move to the second slide. The Executive Committee and General Meetings held on the 14th of July. The acting registrar, supported by the provincial office and restitution officials concerned, met the executive committee and concerned members to discuss issues raised in the letter that was addressed to portfolio committee. In that meeting, resolution taken at that meeting, a general meeting was held on the 2nd of August 2025. The committee, of course, shall not conduct any financial transaction until a general meeting is held. So these were the conditions which were established when that meeting was held. The next slide. The next step is the executive committee and general members. That meeting continued. During the meeting held on the 2nd of August, the acting registrar dissolved the executive committee and replaced it with an interim committee for a period of 3 months. The logic behind dissolving it is because there were members which cited views which were against the executive committee, and of course, others being for the executive committee. So the best thing to do, according to the wisdom of the executive, the acting registrar, and of course supported by the officials in the meeting, was just to dissolve everything so that we have an interim committee, so that interim committee will work towards uniting the differing factions within the community of Ramotlakane. And that interim committee was tasked with the following activities, which is to update the current membership list and finalizing verification of aspirant members in conjunction, of course, with restitution, so that we follow what the land given to them was restored for. Compilation of asset register is always key, to have all asset register compiled so that handover can happen smoothly. Facilitate elective annual general meeting, of course, in line with the relevant constitution. Conduct financial transaction on related and operations of the CPA. Obviously, the financial statement and the bank statement was to be also assessed. The next slide. The fourth element was adopted schedule of the interim committee. So the convener of the interim committee is an official of the department, because that interim committee comprised of members from those that see to eye and those that doesn't see eye to eye with others. So we felt it should be a departmental official who should convene them from time to time so that they can register progress. Table below highlights milestones to date. On the item of handing over of asset register, obviously it was to change the signatories at the bank. That achievement was done. The signatories on the bank account of the CPA were changed. Handover reports from various portfolio committees of the portfolios of the committee. It was done between 15 to 22 August. Interim committee obviously participated well, and it was going to be the responsibility of interim committee and erstwhile treasurer to do that part. Final asset register, the deadline was the 25th of October. So the asset register is that. I must also indicate there will be days, because today now is the 29th, so we'll keep on updating the changes, because it's an ongoing process. So asset register, of course, was presented also on the 25th. Membership list register initiated. Activity was verification outcome from researcher appointed through RLCC to be received. That was to be adopted on the 25th. Progress report, the research. That research was presented on the 25th, if I were to update, because now the report was sent prior to the 25th. Now, latest, that date of the 25th, asset verification list was presented. Everything was presented and adopted. The chairperson of the interim committee and the entire interim committee adopted members who have been adopted as part of a membership list of the CPA on the 25th of October. It was adopted. Updated and verified membership list that was done on the 25th, I must confirm. The responsibility of this particular action was a group of elders, RLCC, which is Restitution and Interim Committee. They've done a sterling job to an extent that indeed on the 25th, verification list was adopted. And then, yes, we are ready for other steps to occur. Next slide. Election agency appointed. Election agency, it's a supply chain process to make sure that election agency is appointed. It normally takes 7 days to appoint an election agency, because we've got a panel of election agencies that conduct election. It just takes 7 days because we procure from a panel of companies which have been vetted through supply chain process. So that action happened. Notices, members, I must indicate on the next 3 items to say, because this is a live and ongoing process. I will make comments on the dates, because the adoption of membership list happened last Saturday on the 25th. Then we discovered that the election must be held within 14 days after the adoption of membership list. So, which means elections that were planned to be held on the 1st of November will be held on the 15th. That's the only change that I can indicate. Will be held on the 15th of November, and the notices has to be placed 14 days before. That is why now the date moved from the 1st to the 15th, and the notices will be placed, are being placed as we speak, so that come the 15th, which is 2 weeks from now, the elections are held. That is why you'll have the 3 items being pending, and the handing over obviously will happen a week after the election, where we'll be having a new executive committee on the 15th, and then handing over will happen a week after. So on these 3 items that is pending, because of the constitution of that CPA, which says notices after adoption of membership list must be issued 14 days after that, then we can have elections. Those are the only changes that, of course, on this presentation could not be filtered in because of that. So in conclusion, an elective AGM will be held on the 15th of November. It was planned to be held on the 1st. It will now be on the 15th of November 2025. And then bullet number 2 has now been taken care of, because a signed verification list was presented to the members. A researcher has finalized his work, and then RLCC together with all other officials presented, and a sign-off verification list was done on the 25th, paving the way now to have elections on the 15th. The term of office of the interim committee was supposed to end on the 2nd. Obviously, it will overlap up to the 15th, but between now and the 15th, it will just be preparations for the elections that will happen on the 15th. And then after the elections on the 15th, training on governance and compliance of the new executive committee will be conducted immediately after elections, so that we have a committee that will know what are the expectations from it, and then of course being taken on board on governance issues so that they can administer the Ramotlakane Association in line with the CPA Act. Next slide. Next slide, I think it's a thank you slide, where now I can confidently say we expect all issues around Ramotlakane to be over. I must also indicate that last night one letter came of one of the complaints as a department. We are yet to investigate that letter so that we can respond on issues raised. But that is a letter after we have finally, as a collective with the affected stakeholders, adopted a verification list. Actually, the organization itself, including the chairperson of that interim committee, adopted the verification committee. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kutaila. Chair, that is the first one. The following one will be the one from KZN, the Dube CPA. Mr. Mdaweni.
Maybe before Mr. Mdaweni, I thought the last presenter would actually care to share us just briefly the content of the letter he's talking about. In just half a minute, what was the letter all about? Is it a letter of complaint or complaining about what?
Thank you so much, Chair. I can assist him in that regard. The letter comes from the chair of the verification committee, actually indicating that things did not go according to how it's supposed to be. And the letter actually suggests that there must be investigation on certain activities that happened. Like he has indicated, we only received the letter late yesterday. We are yet to interrogate it fully and see how we can respond to it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ndaba.
We will now proceed to invite Mr. Mdaweni to deal with the Dube CPA. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mdaweni.
Apologies, Chair. I was having connection problems here. I've joined on my other gadget. Thank you. And good morning, Chair. Good morning, DM, and good morning, honorable members. Good morning. We are presenting a progress report on the Dube CPA matter. When we were last before the portfolio committee, there was an undertaking that the minister would be meeting with the CPA to try and understand issues and determine how to intervene on the issues. However, I must report that the department has been continuing to work with the CPA and supporting the CPA in resolving the myriad of their complicated issues. So in this light, perhaps before I go into the slide, we have not restated the history of the claim, which I think we have done several times. We are just going straight to the issues on this submission. On this slide, we are indicating the engagements we have had in regard to the issues of the CPA. The first one was a follow-up meeting following also the meeting with the portfolio committee, which we held on the 17th of July, where we met with the executive of the CPA to crystallize issues and to tease out matters that needed our attention and where we can support. And that meeting was then followed by another meeting, which attended by the CPA executive, but by also the other stakeholders like Inkosi Dube, Kokta, SAPS, and that meeting was on the 31st of July 2025. And in that meeting, we were also trying to conciliate on some of the issues where there was conflict. Then on the 4th of August, there was a meeting of the minister with the CPA executive initially, but then the minister also met the other stakeholders separately to hear their representations on the issues. So the minister met Inkosi Dube, met SAPS, met Kokta, met Mr. Mark Taylor representing Elan Group, Mr. Sokela representing Ushugel, Royal Shaga. The minister had intended to also meet the claimant community soon thereafter, but because of the busy schedule, it hasn't happened. A meeting is tentatively scheduled for the 16th of November. I will now go into the actual issues that were raised and where they currently are. First of the issues was the issue that was raised by the CPA that they've lost control, particularly of the land known as New Gilderland, the farm known as New Gilderland, where there is a farm that the Inkosi claims it was donated to him or there was a lease. And there are other occupiers in separate, in several compounds, farm compounds, and other accommodation on the farm. The Inkosi and the Zinduna have also allocated sites on this farm without the permission of the CPA. The progress that has happened on this one is that the CPA was already in progress with legal action on the matter. A final court judgment was issued on the 8th of October, which restored the farm to the CPA and all the properties on the farm. We then convened a meeting on the 26th of October together with the CPA to address all the occupiers on the farm. We had invited Inkosi as well, but he didn't attend. The purpose of the meeting was to inform them that the farm is now restored fully to the CPA. All appeals have been dismissed, and the CPA is now in control and will deal with the farm in terms of their own determination. The CPA also advised all occupiers that they would be expected to vacate the compound and the cottages, and even those that were allocated sites will be expected to talk to the CPA on the way forward, or otherwise they would have to vacate. I can report that there was unhappiness among the occupiers, and we are working with the CPA, and the next step, if it can't be resolved through talking, will then be to start eviction, demolition, and impoundment orders on that one. On the second one, on the allegation of theft of assets of the CPA, at the meeting that was convened by the minister, SAPS did report on the cases that were opened with regards to the theft of assets, and the reports were that those 3 cases that had been opened were subsequently closed due to lack of cooperation from potential witnesses. People did not want to come forward to provide evidence and proof on the issue. So SAPS closed those matters. In our discussions with the CPA seems to not to be too keen to rekindle those cases. They would rather focus on regaining control of the land and some of their properties. Can we move to the next slide? And on this matter, the Alien Group, represented by Mark Taylor, honorable members will remember that what connects the CPA to Alien Group currently is only that Mr. Mark Taylor is claiming that he is owed by the CPA some monies, but these are monies that were given to former office bearers of the CPA and really have nothing to do with the CPA. So the CPA is not liable for those monies. We were supposed to be having a meeting later today with the CPA and Mr. Mark Taylor and the new developer. The attitude here is that the CPA must cut ties with Mr. Mark Taylor and make it clear that those monies he thinks he owes them, he must actually deal directly with the individuals he gave monies to, because it wasn't in the name of the CPA. But as far as the legalities are concerned, the land was restored in terms of a court order to the CPA, and the land, the development rights belong to the CPA. So for all intents and purposes, the CPA is in full control of the land and is in full control of the development rights. It's just to clear this issue of Mark Taylor, and divorce papers were already served, but is to finally say to him, you have no business being on this or being part of this development. There is a new developer or investor that is standing on the sideline to invest. And part of the meeting that was to be today, unfortunately it was rescheduled, was to also meet with the CPA, with the new developer, so that he gets comfort that when he gets involved with this project, he won't be burning his fingers. Can we move to the next one? This then number 4 was the issue of support the executive of the CPA on the number of litigations, including Selwa Trust. Selwa Trust issue is resolved, as I will mention below, but we are working with the CPA on any other litigation that happens, and we have discussed with them that where we can support. Of course, we are constrained by our legislation and policy, but where we can support, we will. But currently, there is no major litigation that is happening. We are just observing on New Kildaland whether the occupiers will vacate or we will need to evict them, and then we will be working to support the CPA on the evictions. On the Farm Eddington, which is the issue with Selwa Trust, the Sokelas, we have been in constant contact with the Sokelas and the CPA, and they had indicated to us that they were raising the money via African Bank, and they successfully raised the money. And perhaps members will remember that CPA was singing a different tune, that they did not want the money anymore. They now wanted their land back. But I think with discussion, they got to understand that there is a lot of money that the Sokelas had already paid, and there was an agreement which was an order of court, which they needed to adhere to. And on the 11th of October, there was a general meeting of the CPA with all the claimant community, where a resolution was taken then to accept the outstanding payments from the Sokelas. 70 million of that outstanding payment is already paid. It was paid on the 22nd of October 2025 to the CPA account, and the remaining amounts will be paid on the 6th of December in full and final settlement. From the department side, we just needed the CPA to provide us with those financial statements and for the disbursements of funds so that we can monitor that it is properly disbursed. And we are saying the department will continue to monitor to ensure that all undertakings are fulfilled. On number 6, submit the copy of the sale agreement. I hope it was submitted to the committee, but from our side it was submitted to the members, but from our side it was submitted. Also, the forensic report was made available. And the issue of development support for Farm Gilderland. We are in the process of developing a business plan because previously we had approved, the department had approved support for Farm Eddington, which now belongs to the Sokelas in terms of the agreement. But the farm that remains, which the CPA will be working, is Farm Gilderland, and so we are developing a business plan for that farm, which will then give us the quantum on how much should be approved by the department to support farming operations on that farm going forward. Can we go to the next page? So this is a summary and the recommendations. We're saying the department will continue to support the CPA in the various matters it is dealing with to resolve challenges. Minister is still to meet the beneficiaries to hear their views on the submissions by all parties, share recommendations and present a project. But I can just say on this one, honorable members and chairperson, that in the general meeting that was on the 12th, the impression we got as a department was that the claimant community is in full support of the CPA's initiatives and steps that the CPA is taking in all matters. So there is no contestation of the current committee of the CPA. Then we are saying the department will continue to provide a progress report to the committee, the first one in 90 days, to report on the matter of the Eland Group, Mark Taylor. We are just waiting for a new date on that one when the new developer is available to meet the CPA and ourselves. And the evictions of those who may resist removal following the meeting of the 26th, we had advised the committee to give the occupiers reasonable time if the people are to move out of the compounds and the cottages. And after that time has expired, then the eviction proceedings may be initiated. I've spoken to the approval of land development funding for Farm Gilderland. We are just waiting for the commodity organization to finalize the business plan on that one, and then we will be taking it through departmental processes for approval. And then the final one, after we have dealt with the new Gilderland issue together with the CPA, we will then enter into discussion with Guaduguza municipality. Committee will remember that the CPA owes electricity to the amount of about 6 million on new Gilderland farm and rates. So we will assist them in negotiating whether it's rebates or a discount, particularly because they have not been in control of the farm. This is where we end our presentation, Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mdaweni. That is the second presentation. Through you, we can move to the last presentation on the Mbadlanyana. I'll request Advocate to take us through, Advocate Mgwengwe. Thank you so much.
Morning, Chairperson. Thank you for the opportunity to present the report.
Good morning.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'll over-summarize. It's a detailed report, so I'll just rely on the members having had sight of it. So I'll try to over-summarize. In terms of the report, Chair, it arises out of a complaint by Ms. Mbadlanyana that is submitted to the National Assembly, to this committee. Chair, I will not deal with the details of the complaint itself, which starts in page 1 to page 3. The complaint itself is laid down in detail in terms of what did Mr. Mbadlanyana say to the committee on the 27th of February 2025. But what I will note, Chair, is that out of that complaint, you then realize that there is a dispute about the fact that land that was allocated at the PTCO issued is now being used by someone else in circumstances that the complainant doesn't seem to understand. So what therefore this report set out to determine was whether really a PTO was issued to Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana. And if it was issued to her, and whether that PTO has now been unlawfully reallocated to someone else, or the rights over the PTO land have been unlawfully reallocated to someone else. That is what this report sought to deal with. It also then deals with what was the minister's intervention. That you are going to find in paragraph 4 of the report in page 4. What the report does there, it just basically to record the fact that this matter was brought to the attention of the minister in December 2024. He then subsequently met with the complainant in the same month in December, and he then met with the stakeholders on the 21st of July 2025. The stakeholders that met with the minister are identified there as Amahlubit Traditional Council, Amahlubit Development Trust, Numa Municipality, Mbadlanyana family members, South African National Roads Agency, Sanral, Zascorite, Pty, trading as Sibabalo Developers, that is the company of Mrs. Dube, and the Mbadlanyana Family Trust. So those are the stakeholders that the minister met on the 21st of July 2025. But what then emerged in that meeting was that there were other significant role players in the matter that did not have a sufficient opportunity to present their case in the presence of the minister. So, which I then went back to engage with them. The dates of those engagements are indicated in that paragraph, which was basically from 26 August, 17 September, 22 September, which then resulted in this report. So, Chair, I think because of the confusion, okay, the confusion is not apparent when you listen to the complaint, but once you start looking at the facts, listening to people, you then realize that there are other members of the Mbadlanyana family who are involved, which therefore starts raising some kind of confusion as to what exactly is happening here, and who are these members of the Mbadlanyana family? So what therefore, Chair, I've done is that in page 5 of the report, I've given you a family tree of the Mbadlanyana family. And I'll just summarize it a little bit. For purposes of this report, I will say there's a first generation of that family in the form of that Mr. Samuel Mbadlanyana, who then has got 4 sons that appear below. The first 2 sons they live in Ngamakwe. Okay, they are family members, they live in Ngamakwe, and they have no role in this project. That is Mnyaman and Venkile. So as a consequence, I did not go further to outline that family structure because they've played no role in the project. But then the third one, which is James, what comes below James is Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana's husband. That is Jeremiah Mangunyana, who is then the father of. Can you just go a little bit, pull it out a little bit up? Yes. Yes. So Jeremiah and Peggy, as parents, they then have these offsprings that are listed there, where you will then see where Nogwanda fits, where you are going to see where Nomonde fits, because the significant role players now appear to be Nomonde, Silver Rose, who is the third child, and Nogwanda Sylvia Mbadlanyana. Of course, there are other family members who play some insignificant role in between. Then you then on the far right on your far right, you then have Jeremiah, who is the father of Mark Mziwamandla Mbadlanyana. Mark Mziwamandla Mbadlanyana is utatomncinci of Nogwanda, who is playing a very significant role in this project, and his name appears quite a lot in the report as it goes down. So I think from that, what I just want to mention, Chair, is that Jeremiah Mangunyana Mbadlanyana's family, which is Nogwanda's father, that family lives in a township in Butterworth called Vuliveli. And if you look at their history, which I laid down in page 5 of the report, is that he actually relocated from Ngamakwe in the 1960s. And in about 1976, he was then, okay, he relocated from Ngamakwe to Mthatha, where he was working for Old Mutual. Then in 1976, he was transferred from Mthatha to Butterworth. And he stayed at Umsobomvu Township. And then and then in 1981, he bought a site, which is this family house that is at Vuliveli Township. And they have lived there ever since. So the significance of that is that this family, the last time they lived in a communal area was in the 1960s when they lived in Ngamakwe. From the time that they left Ngamakwe, they've never lived in a communal area ever again. They've been staying in townships. So that point becomes significant because it becomes the reason for Mr. Mark Mbadlanyana to be brought into the project, because he was considered to be someone who is used in dealing with traditional leadership, because he lives in a communal settlement, and therefore he had to take the lead in conversations about getting the site that is now a subject of a dispute. So, Chair, I'll then move to paragraph 6 of the report, which is the actual application for the cultural village site. Chair, now what is contained in paragraph 6 is a version that is now told by Mr. Mark Mbadlanyana, who is utatomncinci kaNokwanda and Nomonde, and Nomonde Mbadlanyana. Those are the two that were narrating this version that I outline in paragraph 6. So the long and short of it is that the initiative for the cultural village was actually Nomonde's idea. But Mrs. Mbadlanyana was a political activist who wielded significant political influence in Butterworth. And Nomonde needed Mrs. Mbadlanyana to help in opening the doors, because they seemed to have been of the idea that part of the funding for the development of the cultural village would come from government. So Nomonde needed her mother to open those government doors. And she also was a resourceful person in the sense that from the very beginning, this project had attorneys involved. And all the attorneys that have been involved, who were attorneys of the Mbadlanyana family as well as attorneys of Amahlubi Traditional Council, all these people were being secured by Mrs. Mbadlanyana. So she was a resourceful person. So then she approached her mom to help with the project. At the same time, she approached her ubabomncane, utatomncinci, uMark Mbadlanyana. Because Mark was born in 1950 in an area called Josini in Butterworth. So he has lived in a communal settlement for the rest of his life. So therefore, his ability and social connections with traditional leadership was required in ensuring that they do get the site for the cultural village. So as a consequence, he was brought in from the very beginning to help identify the site. Chair, I'm not going to go through the story of the Kwacha family, who were the original users of the site, because this site was actually being used by someone else who was approached and agreed with it. So I will then go to the time when they start approaching traditional leadership, because they approached the user of the site, which was the Kwacha family. Then from there, they approached traditional leadership in the form of Uspondana, and sub-headmen in terms of their language, and the headman, Mr. Ngwabeni. And once those preliminary consultations were done, they actually submitted the application for the site on the 9th of February 2005. There's a written application that they submitted. I've seen the written application. It is signed by the signatories that I identified there. There's a receipt that was paid for this application. It was a 50 Rand customary fee, which was paid by Ms. Nomonde Mbadlanyana, and she still has that receipt, so I've seen it. So once they had applied, then Amahlubi Traditional Council accepted the application, but from the very beginning of the application, Inkosi, you see, the way the language is used there, people that I call Induna, but they were calling them Amakosi, Inkosi by chief. So, but Inkosi of the area in terms of my language was Inkosi Umvuyiswa Luzipho. So who then expressed at the very beginning that they don't want to just give this site to the Mbadlanyanas to develop, but they want to go into partnership with the Mbadlanyanas, because they want this development to benefit the entire community of Amahlubi. Amahlubi, they comprise of 8 administrative areas, which they call villages. So the actual site at the time, it was just situated in Ndabakazi administrative area. But though the site is situated there, the vision of the Traditional Council was, we want this development to benefit all the areas of Amahlubi, therefore all the 8 areas. As a consequence, on the 10th of June 2005, they convened a community meeting that involved all these 8 villages, where the decision was taken to make the site available to the Mbadlanyanas. But because they had foreseen that they would want to they would want to secure capital for the development of the site, they wanted to take this site and transfer it to a development trust that will be established by the traditional community itself, so that they can then use the site to raise capital. So as a consequence, when they met in June 2005, part of the resolution they took was they were making the site available for the development, but at the same time, they want a freehold transfer of the project site to Amahlubi Development Trust. At that time, Amahlubi Development Trust had not been established. It was an idea that they were still going to establish it in practice. So what you will then see in the last paragraph of page 7, Chair, is that I show that there are a number of meetings that took place between the members of the there are a number of meetings that took place between Amahlubi Traditional Council and members of the Mbadlanyana family prior to the actual issuing of the PTO. And those meetings are shown in attendance registers that I've seen with signatures and so on. The significance of these things is that in every one of those meetings, the representative of the Mbadlanyana family were Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana, Mr. Mark Mbadlanyana, and Miss Nomonde Mbadlanyana. So those were the 3 family members of the Mbadlanyana family who were pushing the idea of this project. So once the Traditional Council once the community had approved of this idea in June 2005, that is when they then started interacting with government. That then resulted in a community meeting on the 29th of June 2006, which now involved officials of the Department of Land Affairs at the time, of course, our department today. So there is a land rights holders resolution that was taken in that meeting. There are signatories to that meeting. So what you see in the documents is that the purpose of that meeting was to obtain a community resolution on the application by Africa to utilize 10 hectares of land for tourism, arts, and culture development. Now, Africa is also a company that did not exist at the time, but Nomonde had already started a process of having this company established. So therefore, the applicant for the PTO is not Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana, but it is a company yet to be incorporated. That company is called Africa. Of course, we know as we go down the report that the name of the company, in fact, it later became registered in 2007 in September as a closed corporation, and its proper name is called Africa Development and Safaris. Though the spelling that I've written in the report is missing an I in leisure. But the name of the company is actually Africa Development and Safaris. So that's the applicant that went to that community meeting for the PTO. So, and you will then see that there is no other application that the Mbadlanyana family ever submitted for more land other than the 10 hectares. They were very specific at the time that they were looking for 10 hectares and then they were given the 10 hectares. This is significant in the sense that if you listen to Ms. Nokwanda Mbadlanyana's complaint, you are going to get a sense that these 10 hectares was the first phase, there was a second phase, and therefore the project now that it involves 41 hectares, that 41 hectares includes part of the second phase of her mother's PTO. But the facts don't corroborate that version. The facts are the Mbadlanyanas applied in 2005 for 10 hectares and they were given 10 hectares and they never applied for any additional land at any other time. So the PTO itself was eventually, still on page 8, the PTO itself was eventually issued on the 27th of July, on the 15th of August, 2006 by the Department of Agriculture. I know that in previous presentations to this committee, my department has raised an issue about the fact that the PTO was issued by the Department of Agriculture and which may not have had authority at the time to issue the PTO. And I've not dealt with that issue here, but the simple explanation for that issue is that the power to allocate a land tenure right resides with the traditional council. So what government does subsequently is not really issuing a tenure right. It simply formalizes a decision that has already been taken by the traditional council. So I'm satisfied in this case that the traditional council and the community did issue this tenure right. So what subsequently happened that was done by government was simply to administratively formalize what had already been issued. So therefore, whether or not agriculture had authority at that time, it's insignificant. The reality is that that decision was made by a community and therefore it is valid. The other issue that I note in page 8 in the last paragraph there is that if you look at the PTO template, it provides for the possibility of identifying a natural or juristic person to whom a PTO is issued. And this particular PTO was actually issued to Amahlubi Cultural Village, not to the name of any person, because there was a recognition that the applicants were working together as some form of partnership, and therefore the PTO was not going to be issued to a specific person because it did not belong to a specific individual. And which then contradicts the story that the PTO was issued to Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana. There is no evidence suggesting that anywhere in terms of the documents that I've seen, the people that I've interviewed. So I'll leave that issue there. So what I then do, Chair, is to move to page 9, where we deal with the business relationship between Amahlubi Traditional Council and Amahlubi Cultural Village initiators. So, Chair, as I mentioned earlier, the main actors in this matter were always represented by attorneys. So in this case, there's a guy that appears a lot in documents in the name of Mr. Derek Vuyo Giyose of Giyose Incorporated. In fact, he was a relative of the Mbadlanyanas. In fact, he lived in the Mbadlanyana household at some point. So they had appointed him as the attorney for the Mbadlanyana family members. But because of this partnership between the two, he eventually became the attorneys of Amahlubi Traditional Council as well. And he was therefore instructed by this partnership to help them secure funding. So what I point out in that paragraph 7 is that there's a letter written by Mr. Gyose inviting Dr. Sandi, who was later known as Professor Sandi, who was a manager in the Department of Agriculture in the Eastern Cape. That letter is dated 26 September 2006, and he is being invited to the launch of the cultural village, which was to take place on the 6th of October 2006. The significance there is the description of the project, where he describes the project as a joint venture between Africa Safaris, Pty Ltd, and Amahlubi Development Trust. So Mr. Gyose was instructed to establish the entities that would be playing a role in this project. So in his mind, Africa Safari was going to be a Pty Ltd. But of course, he did not do that job until he was fired by this joint venture. They fired him sometime in 2006, I think around immediately after the launch, he was fired by the joint venture. And then someone else was taken up, which is a certain Mr. Derek Galawe, who then became the attorney, who then helped establish these entities. You then see that on the 14th of September, Amahlubi Cultural Village, CC, was established with its shareholders. Okay, they are called members in the language of CCs. It was okay, its members were Miss Nomonde Mbadlanyana. Okay, there's a feedback, there's a sound that is coming through. Its members, 50% members are Miss Nomonde Mbadlanyana and Miss Mark Mbadlanyana. This is so because Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana had passed on in December 2006. So by the time these entities were established, because she was no longer there, the only surviving 2 members became shareholders in these entities. So you will see that then Africa Leisure Development and Safaris was also established on the same day. You will see somewhere that even Amahlubi Development Trust was registered in September 2007, because Mr. Galawe was now attempting to register all these entities at once. So he got them registered in September 2007. So what is then noted is that in October 2008, on 28 October, Amahlubi Development Trust passed a resolution to amend the deed of trust. Their intention was to amend it so as to include certain beneficiaries. Those beneficiaries would have been a company of Mr. Galawe, the attorney, which was called Silver Moon Investment CC. And also they wanted to include Africa Safaris, and they wanted to include Inkosi Chief Mvuyiso Hamilton Luzipo as a beneficiary. They then indicate how the split of beneficial interests will be shown. You'll see there are now 11 entities, and those 11 entities at 9% each. But that 9% each later changes to 10% each because Silver Moon Investments eventually withdrew as a beneficiary. What basically happened is that Mr. Galawe was subsequently appointed as the head of the Hawks in the Eastern Cape, and he had to withdraw his interest in the project. And as a consequence, then every one of those entities remained with 10%. What is basically happening is that each village, there are 8 villages, each village now, as things stand, is entitled to 10% of net profits. And Amahlubi Traditional Council, as a council, are entitled to 10%. And the Mbadlanyana family, as represented by Africa Safaris, is also entitled to 10%. So that's how they've split their beneficial interest in the development. So what then happens is that they now, in paragraph 8, they formalize their arrangement by way of a joint venture agreement. The joint venture agreement is signed on the 15th of December 2010, but it contains a provision that says it was concluded on 16 September 2010, but the actual date of signature is December. So what you'll notice from the joint venture agreement, the signatories, the Amahlubi Development Trust had taken a decision that their documents would be signed by their secretary of the trust, who was a certain Bandile Welkampuka. And on the side of the Mbadlanyana family, Nomonde and Mr. Mark Mbadlanyana had decided that Mark will be the signatory on behalf of Africa Safari CC. So a lot of subsequent documents, therefore, that follow will show the signatures of the secretary of the Amahlubi Development Trust, as well as the name of Mr. Mbadlanyana, because that is how everything worked for that point. So, Chair, because I have provided a substantial detail on the provisions of the joint venture agreement, I'm not going to go through the joint venture agreement in detail in presentation, except to say, Chair, the joint venture agreement recognizes the fact that both parties, the Mbadlanyanas and Amahlubi Development Trust, are bringing land as a contribution to the business. And they are making that land available to a third party who is going to develop it at no cost to them. So you will then see, if you move, for instance, to, let's say, page 12 of the report, you're going to see there are schedules to the joint venture agreement. Schedule 1 contains projects and agreement particulars. That is where they then record the fact that the joint venture will give rise to develop the identified piece of land to a reputable developer who will raise project funding at no cost to the joint venture. So that's what you are going to find in Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. They then start showing how they will make contributions to the project. Amahlubi Development Trust, there's 90%. That 90%, you can see the idea is that it is the 8 villages with their 10 each, plus Amahlubi Development, plus Amahlubi Traditional Council with their 10. Therefore, they form 90 together, and the Mbadlanyanas with their 10. So that's the kind of theme that you just find across the report, that there is this 90-10% split in terms of benefits. Though that's what they intended to do, but the document themselves are not written in such a very unambiguous way that that's a split, but that issue is now being addressed because I pointed out to them. So then, Chair, I will then move to page 13, which is which deals with Schedule 3, which is allocation of obligations amongst the parties. Of significance, Chair, there is item number 1 and item number 2. What they record in that schedule is that Amahlubi Development Trust will make available all land to be developed to the joint member in the JV. And then they will assist in securing legislative approvals. So what this thing is saying is that Amahlubi, what this thing is saying is that the Mbadlanyanas are coming with 10 hectares. The project development is 41. So they are saying with the 31 hectares, we are bringing that 31 hectare, we are making it available to the Mbadlanyanas. That they are saying we're making available to the Mbadlanyanas. So then paragraph 2 is also saying the Mbadlanyanas are bringing their 10 hectares that needs to be developed. They are making it available to the joint member in the JV, which is Amahlubi Development Trust. So they're basically saying we are each contributing land to each other for purposes of making this land available to a third party for its development. So the significance in item 2 is that the second sentence there says, the family will operate the Amahlubi Cultural Village in a profitable and sustainable manner. So what they are indicating is that in this development that is going to be occurring, the cultural village is still going to exist. And that cultural village will be run by the Mbadlanyana family, irrespective of the fact that the capital for its development will come from the third party. The third party now we know it is Zaskorite of Mrs. Dube. So Mrs. Dube is going to put money, develop the entire development, and then make available the part that is a cultural village to the Mbadlanyanas to run it for 30 years, as indicated in that paragraph. So what you then have after that is that you've got a Schedule 4, which deals with financial policy and remuneration. It shows how they will allocate work. So what members of the JV were foreseeing is that though they now have a developer who is going to develop the Ndabakazi Junction, but they expect that as members of the joint venture, they will provide services to the developer in the development of Ndabakazi Junction. So they are then splitting the allocation of work amongst them should they provide services in the development of Ndabakazi Junction. And they are saying the Mbadlanyanas will simply will have a 10% allocation, and they will then Amahlubi Development Trust will have a 90% allocation in the allocation of work. And it is shown somewhere in the report that the very basis for the JV was to get to a point where they make this land available to a third party on a lease basis, as well as to also agree on services that they will provide in the development of Ndabakazi Junction. So in page 15, Chair, I then deal with the entry of Zaskorite as to how did Zaskorite enter into this. That is where I then take the matter back to Mr. Giosa in 2006, where he was indicating how the development will be funded. What you then see, Chair, in page 15, is that the Mbadlanyanas, they were of a mistaken impression that the development could be funded through municipal funding. So that you see in the letter by Mr. Giosa as an attorney of the joint venture, writing to Mnquma municipality, where he is accusing them of frustrating the development. There's a last bullet there where he says, if the municipality continue to impede and frustrate the development by refusing to grant the community funds from the IDP, the project will be completed through funds from private banks and the Industrial Development Corporation. So that is where you see this idea that they had this impression that they could start this development through funding from the municipality, from what they call community funds from the IDP. Of course, that was mistaken, because developments of this nature, you've got to fund them. You've got to fund them yourself. So, and because they didn't have the money, then they were forced into a situation where they had to find a third party who can raise the capital. That is where Mrs. Dube comes in. So you will then see from page 16 that the joint venture instructed their attorney at the time, who was Mr. Kalawe. You see, Mr. Kalawe had withdrawn his active participation in the project, but he continued offering legal advice. So they continued to liaise with him, and they said to him, listen, we want a developer, can you help us find one? And Mr. Kalawe then found Mrs. Dube, who then came to meet with the members of the trust in February 2010. And as she was looking at the site, because at the time the site was 10 hectares, as she was looking at the site, she came to the conclusion that the site is too small. She then requested that the site be increased. That
Sorry,
is where you...
I'm sorry, Advocate, to interject like that. Chair can't see our hands. We are trying to get his attention. Chair, the presenter has gone way beyond the time that we didn't tell him until when. We've got less than an hour, and we're trying to get every presenter to just give us the synopsis of that, because we had a report, and then for them to finish so that we can interact. But I don't see it happening, because almost now it's less than an hour. Can we try to, can they just interest?
Yes, please, Chair.
I honestly was also getting quite worried, because we do have copies, and the matter was getting more and more complicated. I was going to appeal to Advocate Mgwengwe if we can actually, in the next 3 minutes, just wind up so that we have a bit of time to engage. The Mbadlanyana issue, it would seem, alone will actually require more than a day to understand all the intricacies that are involved in. Can you just wind up, Advocate, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm concluding now. And my conclusion, Chair, is that the presence of Zaskorite Pty Ltd in the Mbadlanyana development was as a consequence of an invitation from members of the joint venture, the members being Amahlubi Development Trust and Africa-Asia CC, and the issue whether or not the PTO was issued to Mrs. Mbadlanyana, there is no evidence to that effect. Evidence is contrary to that. So the answer is no. Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana never had a PTO issued to her, but it was issued to 3 members of the Mbadlanyana family, who subsequently operated as an entity in the form of Africa-Asia Development and Safaris, CC. That's where, Chair, I leave the matter. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Advocate Mgwengwe. Honorable members, I will invite your contributions, and I will ask that we follow this arrangement. We will deal with the Ramotlakane first, and we are going to allocate 10 minutes on that one, and deal with the Dube CPA we allocate another 10 minutes to that one, and then we deal with the last the last matter, which was the Mbadlanyana issue. We will give it 20 minutes. So can we actually see that we actually utilize 40 minutes for engagement? Let me see if I can recognize the first hand in relation to the Ramotlakane matter. I recognize the hand of Honorable Adams. Did you have your hand up?
Yes, Chair. Thank you, Chair. May I proceed?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Chair, I will go straight to my question. On 1.8 of the document, there is reference to current owners disputing the merits of the claim and the department commissioning further research over and above the 2005 research. What is the status in this report and what is the remedy for future disputes? And my next question.
Sorry, Honourable Member, are you referring to the Ramotlakane CPA?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
And then my next question will be, and also the last one, will be on 2.2, there is mention of verification of original disposed households. Has this been completed? Yeah, I think the last one will be on 1.5 of the narrative report shows that the owner reneged on the offer of value of property on the basis of the length of time the department took to settle the claim. How long was the period, this period, more precisely, and what is the remedy? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. I recognize the hand of Honorable Masego. I don't know whether it is still the legacy hand or it's a new hand.
Chair, it's not the legacy hand, it's a new hand for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Chair, I just want to find out from the report. I see that the time frames, I think that one of the problems that we have as a portfolio committee is the times when dealing with the issues of the CPA, because to us it's urgent that get to be resolved so that we can have the well-functioning CPAs. But when you have on their slide, I think it's slide number 4, and you have the dates of about a month, the 30th August to 20th September. 30th, the purpose of the first meeting you arrange is identifying issues that need to be resolved jointly. Already the department to me is you already know what are the issues in the CPA. Then the second agenda on the 20th of September is to determine if there is a need to appoint an independent mediator. You go to the meeting for that only. Then after, on the 30th of September, brief the general members about the complaint raised by the concerned members and present. Now, I'm trying to understand that if there is the agency in dealing with the problems, which the intention of the CPAs is for the benefit of the broader communities, and we take a month in just establishing an agenda for the next meeting, another agenda for the next meeting. What is the issue that it can be that, or how can we deal with the issues as the department and also us as the members oversight role to help in fast tracking some of the decisions that have to be taken in the CPAs to run accordingly? Because if the department is going to operate in this fashion for you to reach all those numbers of the CPAs and trying to help is not going to work. I'm saying this an example. There is a CPA of the Bakatla ba Mosetla where they've got elected the CPA leadership. They're still waiting for the recognition letter, and the elections was on the 14th of June 2025. So if the operations also modus operandi is going to be the same like this one, you'll never cover a lot of CPAs to can do the training after you have settled and seen that the election of the now board members that have to run or the leadership in that institutions. So if you can get how can we fast track that, helping the department, it will be appreciated. The second one, Chair, it will be of the due diligence of the researcher. And now we, after talking about the letter that you received, who does the due diligence when the researcher comes with the information of saying the beneficiaries for verification? How, as the department, you get involved, that you don't get there when you think you are done with the process, then you get the letter like this that is questioning every process that you have taken, or the researcher has given you the report that it needs to happen. And two, no, the third one is the how can I put this one? So the ad hoc committee for the deadline, there is, I'm trying to understand, how did you go about? I just want to see what did I write about that, but I will do it in the question, Chair. I don't want to waste time because we have limited time. I think they will answer, with the question that I asked the first time of these deadlines of the dates. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Maseko. Is there any other hand? Before I ask them to respond, any hand in relation to the Ramotlakane presentation? Okay, can we actually ask DG to respond?
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much to the questions coming from the members. As I've indicated that this work is done jointly with different units in the department. I'm talking about commission, the provincial operations, including national and property management. So I think what we could do, I'll request Mr. Kutaile to deal with the matters that talks to the timelines. I'll request my colleagues from the commission to deal with the issues that relate to the verification and matters related to that, and the due diligence that has been also been highlighted by Honorable Maseko. In that order, but in other colleagues, we also have got the acting registrar here. You can also make an input where it's possible. Thank you so much.
Thanks to DG Ndove and thanks to honorable members once again. Just to comment on the verification, yes, indeed, the original dispossessed verification number was finalized. It has now reached a new figure of 46 after that process by the researcher and obviously the officials from the restitution and the department. So now the final number is 46 of the originally dispossessed individuals, popularly referred to as ODI. So that's the final number, which moved from 43 to 46. And then on the issue of the time frames that we normally set for ourselves to say by this date in September the 20th and then the 30th, it's just maybe influenced by the workload necessitated by the number of CPAs. As a province, of course, we've got 210 CPAs, that we have to service at a particular point in time. And of course, the arrangements that one has to do prior invitations when meeting with beneficiaries and communities. So that is basically factors that influence different time frames. But we take note of what Honorable Member is saying, to say we must always try to finish a task as speedily as possible. We will try to focus on that element. And then the due diligence part, we normally do it because it's a task of different structures. Here you'll have a committee of elders over and above the fact that you'll have a researcher, a committee of elders who at a certain point in time will of course had an interaction with the ODIs, will advise and then indicate, endorse, approve a particular member who can say, yes, indeed, your father, your mother was living with us in that particular farm at a particular point in time. So to do due diligence to the process, we will rely on the research committee of elders, officials, of course, from both restitution, assisted by officials from the department, so that there is enough capacity to make sure that the product is as legit as possible. Mr. Matukani, who will talk to the merit of the claim, will also maybe add further on the due diligence and the list of ODI, which now stand at 46. Yeah, but that is normally the technicalities that we come across, but we rely on the individuals that will help us to make sure that the process is as credible as possible. At least members feel that, yes, there is sufficient attention and there is credibility to the process of doing that verification. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, the person speaking is Kenneth Matukani, representing the commission. Good morning once more, honorable members, DM and the chairperson. I will quickly talk to the questions raised by Honorable Adams. The first question was on the owners that are disputing the merits of the case. The second one is on the verification of ODIs, if it has been completed. And the third one was the landowners rejecting the prices that were given and what is the way forward in that regard. On the on the dispute on merits by the remaining landowners constituting 6,837 hectares. It's normally what we would do if we are having a research report that has been concluded. We publish the findings of the commission that these are the properties that we have accepted as valid as they comply with the Restitution Act. We would gazette such properties. Then we would afford 60 days to the landowners to make representations on our findings. Now, these landowners have disputed the merits of the case. But because of the research report that was conducted in 2005, when we went through it as a commission, we felt that it is not tight enough to stand the test of the court if we refer this matter. Hence, we have commissioned further research so that we tie all these loose ends. Now, we are just pushing the researcher to finalize this research report. It has been difficult because of he has been working through the interim committee that we have appointed. And so he's been managing these two groups so that he finalizes the research. And it has not been easy for him. But as the commission, we are there to assist him to finalize it. But because of the issue of the verification was central to the dispute, we said, let us focus firstly on this one so that we identify the original dispossessed individuals, because of this is the list that should go to the land tenure branch that are responsible for the regularization of the CPA. Then at least we managed to finalize that process. Based on the outcomes of the research that the researcher is gonna do, we will decide if we then can say we are referring this matter to the Land Claims Court in terms of Section 14, because Section 14 of the Act says, should we disagree, the parties must refer the matter to the Land Claims Court. And so based on the outcomes of that research, we will advise the claimants accordingly that we believe that they've got a tight case, and therefore let's refer this matter to the Land Claims Court, because that's where we are. But if the research report, it's not in their favor, they will also be advised accordingly and said, maybe perhaps we might need to try to resolve this case out of court. In terms of the verification, Honorable Adams, yes, it has been completed because of it is central to the elections that are due to take place on the 15th of November. We have completed it with the researcher. And I think the same question 3 ties back to the first question, that the landowners that have rejected the prices. The Restitution Act says we need to refer this matter. If it's on the merits, we refer in terms of Section 14 for the court to decide on the merits. But if it's in terms of the price, we will refer this matter in terms of Section 42E for an expropriation order by the Land Claims Court, because of we would not be disputing the merits on these ones that have rejected the prices. We will only be referring it in terms of Section 42E, that is expropriation. The due diligence, yes, Mr. Gotele has responded to it. We do help the researcher. In this one, as I've said, the situation is not normal because of he is working through the interim committee, but he is at an advanced stage. He presented the first preliminary report. We sent him back and said the certain issues we're not happy with. He must go back and deal with them. He presented the second time. It is better than the first one. And he's working through the last comments that we've made with him so that he gives us the final report. And so that's where we are currently, honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions around the issue of Ramotlakane before we move on to the Dube CPA?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. Yes, you can come in, honorable member.
Okay, just to follow up, Chair, a quick one. If that's the case that the department they're working with the researcher, how did they miss the 14 days issue that they discovered that they have to approve the verification of the beneficiaries, that now it has to go back? And that's what the due diligence I was talking about. And also, if you can quickly answer me about the issue of the turnaround time of the recognition letter from the register after election of the CPA leaderships, because I mentioned the Bakatla Bamsetla since they elected on the 14th of June, and we are now going to start November. They're still waiting for the recognition letter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. A quick response. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, honorable member.
Chairperson.
Yes, honorable Mkhakha.
Yes, my apologies, Chairperson. I'm punishing myself now. My hand has been up. Just that I forgot that you don't stay on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay, honorable Mkhakha. You
No,
can come in.
Quickly, Chair. No, Chair. I hear that the Ramotlakane one, they've got plus or minus 210 CPAs in terms of their records. Just to check whether they do have the list of all AGMs as part of management or administration in the province. That's a generic question, Chair. And so that they are proactive in terms of dealing with these CPAs before even the question of disputes. The two groups that were fighting, what is the state now in terms of the relations between these two groups? Are they cooperating with the whole process? Is there a possibility that even beyond the AGM, there might be other challenges posed by divisions, or they are satisfied with the process as it unfolds now? Those were two clarities, Chair, from my side. Thanks, Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Mkhaka. Yes, Honorable DG.
Thank you so much. Let me give it back again to Mr. Kutaila and Advocate Matukana to deal with the two issues.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. On the issue of the 14 days, it's because of the constitution of the Ramotlakane CPA itself. So that's why the date had to be pushed to the 15th, because after the adoption, then there was this clause of 14 days notice, which initially when the plan was done, of which the plan was up to the 25th, that CPA constitution was not taken into consideration. Then obviously it has to be taken into consideration with emphasis from the members to say we want our 14 days prior, and then hence the 15th of November. The certificate of recognition delay, after every election agency has to compile a report and submit to the Register of CPA. Of course, compliance has to be achieved. Eventually, once compliance has been achieved, and then the recognition certificate is produced by the office of the registrar. Lately, we have been getting things smoothly because we have been complying after the amendment of the CPA. It doesn't take long, but of course, we will work harder to try to address the challenges on the outstanding ones, so that we clear all the CPAs that have to go for the elections, and then we clear the backlog on those that have went for elections already. Yes, the CPAs, of course, the entire 210, they go to elections to elect their new committees at different times. Most of them is 5-year term of office, 5-year term of office. There is a schedule in office to make sure that they are sensitized in advance to say in a particular period you are about to finish your term, and then we identify that, we try to be proactive and have a plan of servicing all of them. Of course, with challenges here and there because of capacity within the department, but so far, I think we are in a situation where we are reaching that level of adherence, of making sure that we adhere to the plans, and even this Ramotlakane CPA. We are confident that due to the work that has been done, especially after the acting registrar of CPA was appointed, we're getting more support from national, and then the process is very smooth. We are confident that the intervention, the concern raised by the portfolio committee has assisted us to make sure that at least the focus is given to this CPA and the issues are addressed. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Can we please move on to the second CPA, the Dube CPA, the Zwelabantu CPA? Are there any comments or questions in relation to that? Honorable Maseko.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question. The presenter indicated that Mark Taylor issue it's private. Now, why on the conclusion you talked as if the department is going to give us a report talking about it while it's private? Why do you see your involvement necessary in that for you to can follow it, to can give us the report about something that is private? What is it that we are missing? Thank you, Chair. That's the only question.
Thank you. I recognize the hand of Honorable Mkritama.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me firstly raise a broader question. You know, we have over 1,000 CPAs and about 80% of them are dysfunctional. I don't think progressing in this way, taking each CPA crisis and trying to deal with it at committee is going to be productive. I do suggest that the issues that come before us from these CPAs be redirected back to the office of the registrar. And then they report overall about how they're handling these matters. Because otherwise, Chair, my fear is that this committee is going to be detained by the crises of these CPAs. Because as we know, they are massive, they are deep, they are complex. So that's just a suggestion I want to put forward. Of course, when we go out to oversight, we will learn and understand a little bit better how the challenges manifest. But in terms of addressing them, really, I think it's best if we send them to the office of the registrar. Now, on the specific Dube CPA, it is worrying that government officials are staying at the CPA properties without permission. My question is, what are the actions being taken by the department to hold members of the department accountable? Why are they staying on this property of a CPA? And we know that there's been the court order to evict people, but before that, clearly I'm asking about the staff members of the department. Who's paying for these costs? Because if it is the CPA, it must be draining on the resources of the CPA itself. Then, Chair, this question, I don't know if can be answered by this committee, but Nkosi Dube, clearly there are issues there in terms of how we execute this responsibility. So I'm just checking what are the mechanisms available to us to hold traditional leadership accountable? Or should we as a committee write to the Ngonyama Trust to say, here is an Nkosi, he's acting in a manner which is harmful to the community, he's supposed to be looking after its interests. Then on the question of, it's very disturbing, Chair, that the properties of the CPA have been disappeared or stolen, but the police are not willing to move, are reluctant to act on very flimsy excuses. I'm just wondering if, as a committee, we shouldn't intervene and ask General Mkwananzi to intervene on this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Mkritama. Is there any other member that would actually want to
Yes, Chair.
make a comment?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Mkhaga.
Chair, in relation to properties that were reported in our meeting, we made a recommendation that there has to be audit of all properties within the jurisdiction of those CPAs. And I'm not sure whether... Hello?
No, there could be a member whose mic is not muted.
Okay.
Okay, continue, Honorable Member.
Yes, we did recommend that an audit of all properties in that site be done by the department so that we're able to quantify the value of properties in that area, in that space. To Chair, the criminal element, we could not have a solution to deal with criminal element in that situation as a portfolio committee. And I'm not sure how the department is assisting those CPAs to deal with this question of a criminal element. It might be close to what Honorable Mqwethana is raising, but I'm specific around this question of criminal element of that chief and other chiefs elsewhere within the CPA space. How do they deal with the criminal element, given the fact that there are traditional bodies who exist in those areas, but I'm not sure whether they are dealing with criminal element, but criminal element specifically on that one, rogue element. How does the department deal with such situation? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Can I hand over to DDG for responses?
Thank you so much. I'll request Tatam Daweni and the team from KZN, both in the commission and as well as the PSSC, to respond on these issues. And Tatam Daweni, I will also want you to clarify the issue of the officials. Who are these officials, so that the committee can at least have a better understanding whether these are departmental officials or are just people that are in the employment of government, but not necessarily the department. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mdaweni.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, DDG, and thank honorable members for the questions. I think some of them were recommendations and also for the committee to think about. I'll try to respond to those that I can. The first one was from Honorable Masego on the Mark Taylor matter. The matter is not necessarily private. I think we believe as a department we still have a responsibility to assist the CPA to regain full control of their land, including the development rights, because as I explained, Mr. Mark Taylor is still holding on to the land and accusing the CPA of blocking development. The only connection that Mr. Mark Taylor has with the CPA and that land is that he claims the CPA owes him money. But legally, the CPA has full ownership of the land and full ownership of the development rights. So the meeting I'm saying was meant to be today has been postponed, was to clarify those issues and to say to Mr. Mark Taylor that the money he says the CPA owes him, it was not borrowed to the CPA member, to the CPA as a legal entity, but it was individual members. And that should not be holding back the CPA from going ahead to get investors and developers to develop their land. From Honorable Mqwethana, I think the 1,000 CPAs is a recommendation to the committee. The question of the officials, at the meeting of 26th October, the officials that I was shown that were there were officials from the municipality itself, Waduguza from the planning section. There was officials from COCTA. There were officials from SAPS. We have taken the attitude that they were allocated sites on the family legally by the Inkosi, and so because the land has been restored fully to the CPA, when the evictions are taking place, they will all be evicted together with the other occupiers. The arrangement with Inkosi and yes, with Inkosi was a private arrangement. Perhaps if the committee feels they can be reported to their departments, I'm not sure to what extent that would help, and it would not be probably getting into what I would call private affairs of their staying arrangements, but we will take guidance. Yes, Inkosi Udube has no right, as I've said, on the land anymore. We explained it. There were some of the people who were allocated sites by Inkosi Udube, but there is no guarantee, as the honorable member says, that he will continue being rogue and trying to defy the CPA. So perhaps reporting to COCTA might help. My experience is not a positive one, though. Yes, I think they can be reported to COCTA as the government department responsible for overseeing traditional leadership, together with the provincial committee of traditional leaders and Khoisans. Then we come to yes, there are some of the SAPS members that we are told are also staying on the property, and we deal with them the same way as we deal with the other government official, COCTA and municipality. Honorable Makaka, on the audit, I think we must apologize. We might have missed that one. We will expeditiously deal with that audit. But I might just say that there is quite extensive properties, cottages, a lot of cottages that are occupied by particularly people of Indian descent. I think those are mainly the properties. Then there is compounds, interestingly, also occupied mainly by African people. Then there are farmhouses. But we will, as I say, we will do a proper audit, and apologies for having missed the recommendation for an audit. Yes, I think I've dealt with the issue of the criminal elements of the chief with the reporting to the relevant structures. DDG and Chairperson, I'm not sure if there are any members who may want to add on the responses, but that is as far as I can take it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yes.
No, thanks, Chair. I thought I was responding to his question that whether there are others, but I think he has covered all the areas. But if there is any official who want to add something, can do so. But I think he has covered all the questions. Thank you.
For me, it's two questions. Yeah. One is that I realize that substantial amounts of money actually have been paid into the account of the Zwelabantu CPA. And I'm just wondering whether there is sufficient capacity to manage those funds, whether the department has any mechanism to assist these people to manage those funds. And the second one has to do with the contemplation of having an order to demolish structures that have already been erected by those people who were hoodwinked by Inkosi into believing that Inkosi had the right over the land, and therefore allocated them with pieces of land, on which they have built, structures. Can there be no way of negotiating some kind of an arrangement so that people do not actually lose their property in that fashion? Because it's also not going to bring about peace in that area. Yes, Mr. Ndove.
Yes, Chair. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Mkhakha, Honorable Mkhakha.
Yeah, Chair, just a follow-up, Chair. Just a follow-up on this question of criminal element. Don't you think that the department is falling short of inviting Hawks or SIU, particularly on matters that deals with properties? And I think we must recommend as a portfolio committee that maybe the approach that says report this matter to the police because it's about criminal element, but beyond police, invite Hawks or SIU to assist on the question of audit investigating those properties so that a proper audit could emerge and be reported to us as a portfolio committee. As a matter of urgency, Chair, because our people are losers as far as properties are concerned. If they are also African people, the foreign nationals that are occupying those buildings, it surely needs power now, power and enforcement to do the proper investigation and also discipline those rogue elements that exist in that particular speech. Thanks, Chair.
Well, thank you, DDG.
Thank you so much. Let me afford again the colleagues from the province to respond. If there's any other question that they may not, we'll take it.
Thanks, DDG. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. On the issue of amounts paid, the previous committees, weak as they were able to distribute the funding, except, of course, that they also took a bit more for themselves. I think we would have to liaise with the CPA to see if they need any support from the department. But my assessment is that they are quite, especially the current committee, is quite capable of managing the process. And they do have a lawyer that assists them with these processes. On the demolition issue, on Sunday, I think there was a bit of a tense situation because we as a department were trying to find a middle road, but the CPA was insisting that people would have to vacate either way. I think there are two categories, especially of the people allocated by the chief. There are those that have built complete houses and are staying there. And there are those that have built to some level, but have not finished and were warned by the CPA not to continue. So our advice was that perhaps those that were allocated lately, especially because they are allocated on agricultural land in the middle of sugarcane plantations, those could be considered for demolition. But those that are already established there, there is a need to engage them and see what arrangements can be made with them. So I think those processes are still at early stages. We will be still working with the CPA at least to guide them to find the kind of peace that Honorable Chairperson is talking about. Yeah, the criminal element and people occupying. Yeah, I think we will take the recommendation as a department and discuss it on also involving other law enforcement agencies like the Hawks or SIU. But in general, the people that are there are former farm workers, mainly, that are staying in the cottages, who used to stay there when the former owner was there. And even the former workers who are staying in the compounds. And as I said, they are in, I don't know whether divided is the right word. I'm just missing the correct terminology. In the compounds are Africans, in the cottages are people of Indian descent for whatever reason. But they are generally known. And then there are people who have built factories on the land, on the farm. And again, those would have to be dealt with separately. Those are people who just came on the farm, allocated by the Inkosi and built factories. They are employing people, probably also foreign nationals and all of that. So we would have to also look at that. I think those are the answers to the questions, Honorable Chair. I don't know if anyone wants to add. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the response. Yeah, one would have actually liked to engage further on these matters, but we have a constraint of time, because my concern is around the approach of, the resources, the funds that you have actually been able to collect, 70 million plus. Now you are talking about disbursement. Now that to me is actually living from hand to mouth. And then after that, what happens? Why not plow back the money into the land for development and look at other options? I'm actually thinking here about the royal family in Northwest. What is that family, Bafokeng? The way they are actually utilizing the resources that come out of their land for the overall development of the entire tribe, entire area. But that is discussion for another day. Can we look at the Mbadlanyana complicated matter?
Sorry, before you.
Yes, Honorable Maseko.
Yeah, before you continue, or maybe let me come at the end after Mbadlanyana, because I think it's going to include all the CPA. I wanted to ask the Deputy Minister a question. So maybe let's take Mbadlanyana, and then at the end I will ask that question.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members, do you have the questions? And Honorable Adams?
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me go straight to my questions, Chair. On slide number 4, there is reference to an international investor committed to investing 600 million in the infrastructure. What are the relevant details in this regard? Does the investment comply with the provision of the Protection of Investment Act of 2015? And then under challenges in slide 5, there is mention of an amount of 64 million rand, which will be paid on the 6th December 2025 in line with the settlement agreement. How will this monitor and enforce? And slide 6, Chair, was mentioned a forensic report. What are the relevant findings of the report, and what is the implementation plan? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. We're dealing with the Mbadlanyana matter. Honorable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah.
Chair, just looking at the issues of Mbadlanyana, I think the question, it will be a generic from me. about the CPAs that does the DDG maybe can answer the alignment of the constitution of the CPAs. What will be his opinion when coming to that, seeing that the others, one of the contributors of the challenges is their constitutions. And the second question, it will be, okay, the CPAs, does the DDG or Deputy Minister feel there is a need for the Ombuds Office of the CPAs or the tribunal where the issues can be dealt with urgently, that it doesn't have to be the red tape from the department that they're trying to manage and be to resolve the challenges within the CPAs. And looking at the fourth industrial revolution, the department itself, are they seeing themselves doing the digital CPA registry to track the compliance in trying to mitigate the challenge of the CPAs not being compliant when coming to reporting on their financials also, and their performance being lacking behind? Chair, I think those are generic questions that I have, and that's all from me.
Thank you, Chair.
So, Honorable Mkhaga.
Yes, Chair. Chair, let me first welcome the reports, particularly the comprehensive reports presented by Advocate. I think it must be appreciated because now it's beginning to dawn in our mind that there were many processes that were followed in dealing with this particular question. And he has managed to respond to some of the suspicions that we had. But there's somewhere where he mentioned the issuing of a PTO. Just a clarity as to who issued this PTO and who's supposed to issue it. The PTO that was issued. The second question relates to the operations. We're informed that the garage is on a standstill, or there's a garage under construction or constructed in the site of Mbadlanyana by a certain lady called Ms. Dube, who've got a different role. I couldn't pick up this allegation from the report. And maybe there's just a clarity.
Well, thank you, Honorable
In Mbadlanyana. Pardon? Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I thought that somebody. Whether this garage is constructed on the site of Mbadlanyana family or else.
Honorable Mkhaga, oh yes, you are back.
I'm struggling, ne?
Yeah, I could hear that.
Yeah, okay. Now we're informed about the investors that were waiting for a resolution of that particular problem by Mbadlanyana family, investors from Holland, somewhere from Holland. And I could not pick up in terms of the report any component of the report talking to investors. Are those investors still available for development of that area? The last one, Chair, is in relation to the role of municipality. Little has been mentioned about the role of that municipality. And I know that municipality is notorious when it comes to matters of this nature, but there's little.
Honorable Mkhaga, you seem to have connectivity challenges.
Am I not very audible now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm trying to shift. You get me now, Chair?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you hear about the investors? Was my
Yes,
comment was
yes, I got that. Can we allow them to respond?
the last one, Chair. The last one, Chair, is around the question of the role of municipality. There's little mentioned about the role of that municipality in the area. Whether
Yeah, I'm sure they got that one because I
okay,
did get it. Yes.
okay, fine.
Okay. Can DG can you respond?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the questions from the honorables. Although I struggled a bit on the questions that came from Honorable Adams, maybe advocate will be able to attend to them, but I just thought maybe I do not get them properly, but advocate will work on that if he understood them properly in the context of the Mbadlanyana matter. Honorable Maseko, the issue related to the Constitution. The Constitution, firstly, it's supposed to be in line with the Constitution, with the Act. However, communities are allowed to tweak the Constitution to suit their own environment. So, and it's a process of development of the Constitution. The registrar is here, maybe can even dwell much on that, on how the Constitution is being developed. So the constitutions are not the same, but they're not very different. But each and every constitution takes its own peculiarity in terms of the environment under which they are operating. But what is more important is obviously it must not be against the Constitution of the country, and also it must also not be in conflict with the CPA Act. The issue of the tribunal and ombudsman is an idea that we can consider going forward. We have not, I can't say we have got a stand as a department on it, but it's not something that cannot be considered. And we may look at that, maybe we can have an engagement at a later stage on it. To go to a digital platform, that is our intention, Honorable Maseko. It is our intention. We are trying also to have all our archives information to be digitalized. But going forward, we also want to make sure that the management and of the CPA work that we are doing is actually on a digital platform. That is something that we're working towards. I will request Advocate Gwengwe to respond to the other questions.
Thank you, Chairperson. The questions by Honorable Adams, they did not relate to my presentation. I think she was referring to slides of one of the two presentations that were presented earlier. Mr. Ndove has responded to Honorable Maseko, who was also not referring to my presentation. With respect to the presentation, to the question from Honorable Mukhaha, the PTO was issued by the Department of Agriculture in the Eastern Cape. As members would know, the PTOs in the former homelands, in this case, there was a proclamation number 26 of 1936. It was called Location Regulations and Surveyed Districts, Transkeian Territories. That's the proclamation that was used in that particular area for the issuing of PTOs. So they were issued by Department of Land 10 and the Transkei government. So what happened in the transition is that officials that were in that department of Land 10 in Transkei ended up in the provincial government in the Department of Agriculture and the provincial department. They simply continue to do what they were doing when they were in the homeland. And that's not unique to the Eastern Cape. It happened everywhere else. Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, the same thing happened. Because you've got a government on 26 April 1994. Suddenly you've got a different government on 27 April, but officials are still doing what they were doing the day before. They simply continued. So as a consequence, though there is no evidence that these regulations were assigned to the provincial government of the Eastern Cape, but officials on the ground, they used them. And up until we practically had to stop them in 2012, that's when we stopped them from doing it. So it was issued by therefore the Department of Agriculture in the Eastern Cape. And in terms of what obtains, it seems that the law itself was not assigned to the Eastern Cape provincial government. But that's the issue that I addressed earlier, that it's insignificant because the issue is who has authority to allocate land in these areas. And the answer is, it is traditional leadership or the holders of rights in those areas. And in this particular case, the community of Amahlubi made this allocation on 10 June 2005. So whether it was Eastern Cape provincial government or national government that subsequently issued a PTO, it's neither here nor there. The tenure right had already been issued by the people that had authority to do so in the form of the Amahlubi Traditional Council in conjunction with Amahlubi community. So that's why I don't delve so much on the issue of whether or not the provincial government had authority, because it is neither here nor there. So on the issue of operations about the garage, I didn't go into the garage issue because it is just one of a variety of things that involve the rights that have been allocated to ZASCO right. So the truth is, indeed, as a consequence of the joint venture entering into an agreement with ZASCO right, or with Mrs. Dube. Mrs. Dube then applied for development rights from Ngoma municipality, from the tribunal. So she has development rights as it stands now. And as a consequence of those development rights, she built a garage. The garage, yes, it is built on the land that was allocated by way of a PTO. But that is a consequence of the joint venture partners making that land available to each other for purposes of it being developed by a third party. That's exactly what is addressed in the joint venture agreement between Amahlubi Development Trust and Africo-Leisure Development and Safaris, which is an entity of the Mbadlanyana family. The investor that the garage, yes, as I said at the beginning, I haven't confirmed that it is operating, but I saw documents from the portfolio committee last week that were submitted to the portfolio committee, I think by Ms. Nogwanda Mbadlanyana. In that bundle of documents, one of the allegations contained in them is that the garage has been reopened and she is asking for it to be closed pending the resolution of the matter. So it seems that it is now operating. As I had said, the only reason why it was not operating, because the garage was opened, started operating, but when the Sandral development started impacting on the operations of the garage, it was then closed. It's just that I did not have the opportunity to show the actual map of what is happening on what is happening on the site. If you were to see it, you'll see that Sanral had created a bypass behind the garage that basically diverted traffic away from the garage. And there was construction happening in front of it. So as a consequence, it couldn't operate. But the only reason why it couldn't operate was because it was being disturbed by the Sanral development. It was not because of the dispute. So once the Sanral development allowed that it could be open, it means it has been opened. With respect to the investors from Holland and so on, Chair, I haven't picked that information up anywhere. I have listened to oral presentations by Ms. Mbadlanyana, by Ms. Mbadlanyana, in the meeting of the 21st of July. In there, she did indicate that they've secured some investors. And I think also in the portfolio committee meeting, she did in passing mention that they've secured some investors, though I'd never heard the Holland part. So, Chair, I wouldn't know of the veracity of those statements. What is happening here, Chair, is that a section of members of the Mbadlanyana family, led by Nogwanda and Mzwanele, who is also in this meeting, and someone from Durban. I've forgotten his name. I also saw him in this meeting. That section of the Mbadlanyana family is moving on the basis that a PTO belonging to their mother was misappropriated. Someone else has developed the property. But their sister, Nomonde Mbadlanyana, as part of the originators of the project, has established a company, Africo-Leisure Development and Safaris CC, which has entered into a joint venture with Amahlubi Development Trust for the development of Ndabakazi Junction. So, as a consequence, you now have two sections of the Mbadlanyana family giving you different versions. So, but the evidence that exists supports the version of Nomonde Mbadlanyana. When you look at my report, you'll see that part of what I'm saying in it is that there is an issue whether Nomonde's siblings are not entitled to their mother's interest in the PTO. What you have here are three family members who initiated the development of Ndabakazi Junction. It's Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana, it's Mr. Mziwamandla Mike Mbadlanyana, it's Nomonde Mbadlanyana. There are three members. One of the members passes on Mrs. Peggy Mbadlanyana. She passes on when the PTO has been issued, which means she had a business interest in the PTO itself. What that means is that her interest, if the Mbadlanyana family was united, there could have been a conversation within the Mbadlanyana family as to how do the other siblings benefit from Mrs. Mbadlanyana's interest in the PTO, in the land that is being developed. That's the subject where I'm saying it's an issue that belongs to the Mbadlanyana family that they have to deal with, because the reality of the situation that though Mrs. Mbadlanyana perished before the dream was realized, but she did have an interest in the PTO itself, and therefore her offsprings might have a legitimate interest to claim her portion of the PTO interest. So but that conversation belongs to the family, and they need to talk about it and resolve it. In as far as government is concerned, the Mbadlanyana family members are part of the development that is taking place. They've always been part. They instigated the appointment of Mrs. Dube. Therefore, there could not be a question that there has been any kind of misappropriation. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you, honorable members. Are there any other follow-up questions?
There's a hand of Tando, if you cannot see
it. Okay, Tando, okay, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Portfolio Committee members and the rest of the people in Parliament. I'm Nokwanda Mbadlanyana. I reported the matter to the Portfolio Committee in October last year. We had a meeting with the Minister in Butterworth on the 21st of July. What I was expecting in this meeting was the report that talks about the involvement of the Department of Rural Development and our PTO and the development, and the appointment of Mrs. Dube, and given a notarial lease over that land. Now, Ingati, we're back to square one because here we're talking about the family tree. Each family has got its own tree. They've got siblings, they've got beneficiaries, they've got kids. In our case, Utato Umek Mbadlanyana is our uncle who has his own family, who has his wife and kids. This land belongs to my father's side of the Mbadlanyana family tree. It was started by my mother.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I'm just thinking that I may be out of order as chairperson because I did not actually alert members of the committee that you would actually attend and that you could actually be given time to make your own contribution, because honorable members actually took the whole day when we had our oversight visit to KwaZulu-Natal, and it gave it to you for your own engagement with the committee. I'm not sure now whether the committee is ready to actually, you know, to actually go back to where we were in February. Can I actually canvass the opinion of the members of the committee how to deal with this matter now? Because all we were actually expecting as a committee is the feedback from the minister, which we are actually, which we have got on in relation to the matters that we had asked the minister to attend to, the issue of the CPAs, Ramotlakane, and Zwelabantu, and the matter of the Mbadlanyana PTO rights. So I am not sure whether we have the time and space to actually then go back to the whole matter again. Can I actually get the views of the committee members? Sorry.
Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, Honorable Mkhaka.
No, Chair. I think, with due respect, Chair, I was surprised as to whether we've got a new member in this committee that were not informed. You clarified that seemingly we do have a member of family as part of the meeting. There was nothing wrong to come here and listen to a report as well listening. But for her participation, I don't think she's got the right to participate in this meeting. Because we did afford an opportunity to the complainant to present her side of the story. And we're dealing with that now, because the fact that she met the minister was because of a decision of this committee that the minister must try by all means and meet the family and bring the report back. And this is the report back we are receiving today. We have not yet even engaged ourselves as independent with the committee. We're just receiving the report. Then thereafter, when we're in our own time, we'll be able to engage a minister when he is present in the meeting about some of the issues that are also questions even from our side. With due respect, Chair, I was going to appeal to you to actually stick to the agenda of this meeting, so that if there's any as a tradition, so that if there's any other engagement, we set time for such engagements. But for now, we're just receiving reports. We didn't even critique these reports. We're just questioning, seeking clarities, and we know that we have our own time when we're making assessment with the minister as far as this is concerned. So, Chair, I was going to say, because we don't have time now, we will not have time today to deal with such question. It's worse when the family member is saying we're back in square one. It's just frightening now. We don't want to spoil the engagement between the minister and the family. The minister knows where they stopped and their agreements as far as that is concerned. Thanks, Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Mkhakha. That was my concern as well, because there was no invitation to Mrs. Mbadlanyana to actually participate in the meeting. And as you have correctly indicated, we actually had afforded her, the whole day, opportunity to engage with the committee. And the fact that we also do not have this that item on our agenda, it makes it very difficult to entertain her participation. With due respect, Mama, I am obliged to not allow you to engage the committee on this matter, because we are only receiving a report from the minister on the specific issues that we had asked him to go and attend to, including your matter. So what members are doing right now are only receiving the report from the minister. If Mama has any issues to raise about that report, I don't think that is the platform to do so now, because this is the committee meeting, and we do not have on the agenda in your participation. So I just want to apologize, Mama, for that. Honorable members, yes.
Chair, I just want to indicate that I totally agree with you to an extent, but I think what the committee have to say to Mama is, because we've got limited time, because our committees is open, like I always say that, unless declared otherwise. But the committees also, the public also, not specific that is a contributor, but the committee have got allocated time, and the engagement is specific with the issues that are on the agenda. Maybe in future, after we've gotten all the report, Mama, we will engage with you. We are not silencing your voice. We are just saying today we have to deal with what we are dealing with. But the rules of the committee is also, unless declared otherwise, a public member can also raise a hand to contribute to the engagement. I think that it will be the right way that we'll have to take in that fashion, so that we stick to the rules as per prescribed by the Parliament. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Member. And that I see from Mama Sego, I think it is, Honorable Masek, I think it is a legacy hand. That concludes our,
Chair.
Yes.
Chairperson, I hear
Yeah,
that,
Honorable Adam.
thank you, Chair. I hear that the department response was that they are not familiar or they didn't have that information. That questions that I raised was related to Zwelabantu Dube. Didn't they present anything regarding Zwelabantu Dube?
Yes, I mean, a presentation was made on the Zwelabantu CPA, and that report. There were questions. I realized that one of the questions that Honorable Adams actually raised was actually related to the Zwelabantu report, which actually had to do with the 64 million rand that is still going to be paid into the account of the CPA, Zwelabantu CPA. Are you still there, ma'am? Honorable member?
Yes, Chair, that was my questions that I raised and the challenges in slide 5.
DDG, would you like to respond to that question?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for the clarity. I think the challenge that we had is that at that time when the question was raised, we were dealing with the Mbadlanyana issue. So I think that is where we missed each other. But other than that, I'll request Mr. Mdaweni to respond to that. Thank you.
Mr. Mdaweni, are you still on the platform?
I'm audible, Chair. Hello.
We can hear you, Mr. Mdaweni. You can proceed. I think you heard the 3 questions that were raised by Honorable Adams. So at that time, we were not sure where they belong, but now they've clarified that they are actually about the Dube CPA.
Okay. No, thanks. The questions on the 600 million. This is information that we still need to verify. We have not yet engaged with the new investor developer. Today was going to be the first time we are meeting with him together with the CPA to understand what he's saying. So it is still at very early stages. And so all of those issues that the honorable member, issues of compliance with the relevant act are still to be looked at. We are still at very early stages on that engagement. On the 64 million, I think it's the issue that was also raised by a concern raised by the Honorable Chairperson. I can report that on the meeting on the 12th, a discussion did indicate that, especially to the claimant community, that it would be prudent that not all the money is shared. Some of the money should be kept for reinvestment, and some of the money should be kept for other operational needs like the legal fees. An honorable member, I've forgotten who, asked the question whether the CPA is paying from its own pockets for all the legal fees, and the response there is that yes, they are paying from their coffers for legal fees. So these payments from Royal Ushaga are going to be divided. So the community will share some of the money, but most of it, which is still to be determined and by the CPA, will be reserved for reinvestment and other operational costs. We haven't really got into that because we are also apprehensive as a department not to get too engrossed in some of the issues, such that we would be later told that we are interfering. Yes, I think those were the two questions. Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks, DDG.
Chair, there was a last one on slide 6. Mention a forensic report. What are the relevant findings of the report and what is the implementation plan?
Okay. Now, on the forensic report, what it mainly recommended was the issue of the criminal cases that were opened. Some, in fact, most of them were against the old executive or old office bearers. And those are the cases that I indicated that subs have closed because lack of people, witnesses who can come forward and say things were stolen or supply any other information to subs. So those cases are closed. And we haven't really put a plan in place in terms of the forensic report. We are merely dealing with the issues that were raised by the CPA, assisting them to restore order into them, getting control of their properties and being able to manage them accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Well, that would conclude our interaction with the report of the department. Thank you so much, the DM. I would actually invite him to give us some concluding remarks on the department report. Thank you, Honorable DM. Is the Honorable Deputy Minister still there?
Yes, I'm still here, but I'm not very sure what am I supposed to do.
I was actually giving the Honorable Deputy Minister, an opportunity to say some closing remarks on the report that we have actually received from the department.
Okay. No, it's just to say that, to thank the colleagues for presenting this detailed information to the committee. And all the outstanding things, I think, through the office of the minister, because the minister is the one who's dealing a lot with the issues of land reform. I'm mostly concentrating on rural development. So through the office of the minister, we'll be in the position to deal with these matters that are still outstanding. But more than that, I don't think there is much that I can say, Chairperson. Thank you. And thank you to the committee also, the portfolio committee.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Maseko, I've just remembered that you had some questions which you had reserved for the end of this session. I'm wondering whether you still want to ask those questions.
No, Chair, you didn't hear. I smuggled them in. They answered. It's about the fourth industrial revolution and the others. So I managed to smuggle them in. Thanks, Chair.
Still there, ma'am? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Can
hear
you
you
hear
now.
me?
We can hear
Yeah.
you now.
Well, that takes care of our interaction with the department's report, honorable members. Can we move on to our last item, the consideration of the of the set of minutes for our last meetings? The secretary, can I ask the secretary to actually, lead us on that? Were the minutes circulated, secretary?
Good afternoon, Chairperson. The minutes were circulated last week, Chairperson, on WhatsApp and via email, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. So you have, yeah, you are flighting them on our screens. Can we go through page by page? Are there any corrections, honorable members, that you actually picked up on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Page 5? And that's all. Is there any proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
Yes, Chair, I'm moving for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Is there a seconder?
Member Maseko, seconding Chair.
Honorable Maseko, thank you for seconding. Well, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you, honorable members. Thank you so much for your participation and your patience.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair. After closing the meeting, we just need 2 minutes of your time, me and Doc. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Well, thank you, honorable members. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Raleboga Modulasto.
Thank you very much, Chair, and to the staff also. Thank you.
Ke a leboga, Paya Danki. Oh, no, what else do I say?
Enkosi.
Enkosi, ngiyabonga.
Nda.
Nda.
Yeah.
Mabambe baphume. Yes.
But Lwazi, I think Chairperson is left. He's not here.